The Wilson County Board of Education for February 19th, 2024 to order. Please know that the meeting is being televised on Spectrum and Greenlight Channels 22 and live streamed through the Wilson County Schools YouTube channel. The public can also view the meeting by downloading the Wilson County Schools TV 22 app and through the links on the Wilson County Schools Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages, and the Wilson County Schools website. Members of the board, if you would please make a change to your agenda. And from the Administrative Services Committee report area, move item B under information items to action item B. Item B under the information, under the administrative services, will be moved to action item B. And with that change, I ask for an approval of the agenda.
Madam Chair,
Mrs. Powell,
I move that we accept the agenda for the February 19th, 2024 Wilson County Board of Education with the stated change.
it has been moved by Mrs. Powell, seconded by Mr. Boykin, that we approve the agenda for February 19th, 2024 with the stated change as amended. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously. Mrs. Barnes, I'll ask if you will lead us and the audience in the Pledge of Allegiance, to be followed by a moment of silence.
All right, please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Members of the board, next on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of January 22nd, 2024 regular board meeting. What is your pleasure?
Madam Chair,
Mrs. Barnes,
I move that we approve the Wilson County Board of Education's meeting of January 22nd, 2024.
Second.
it has been moved by Mrs. Barnes, seconded by Mrs. Boyette, that the minutes of the January 22nd, 2024 regular board meeting be approved. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously. Dr. Mills and Mrs. Barnes, I think you have some good news presentations to make.
Board members, audience members, tonight I'd like to recognize some of our own folks, and I see most of them out here. If they would come forward to be recognized for National Board Certification, which is no joke. Miss Emily House, Sue Ellen Baxter, Curry Joyner, Angela London, Miranda Walls, and Donna Winborn. There's Donna. Stay up here. No. Let's spread on out, spread on out. Come on, spread on. Come on across. Hey, Miranda, congrats. Hey, girl.
And an extra little young teacher.
Accepting on behalf of.
That's all right.
We'll take her back whenever she gets her teaching degree, right back here.
They're so dedicated, they wanted to hurry back and go back to their classrooms, but we made them stay up front. So let me tell you a little bit about these folks. We want to welcome them and congratulate them on those who've either earned or renewed their national board certification. This is a huge accomplishment, and ask their families and them if you get a chance. National Board Certification is an advanced teaching credential that goes beyond state licensure. Wilson County Schools currently has 54 educators with the certification, and North Carolina leads the nation with 24,243 educators who are National Board Certified, which is nearly 24% of the state's teachers. I want to take a moment to share a little bit more about the certification that each of our educators received. Emily House, yes, we see it on your good news. You did your certificate right. That's good. So everyone can see it. That's good. Emily is a social studies teacher at Bettyfield High, and she earned initial National Board Certification for social studies and history, adolescence, and young adulthood. Congratulations, Emily. Sue Ellen Baxter is an English teacher at Hunt High School, and she maintained her existing certification for English language arts, adolescence, and young adulthood. Congratulations. Curry Joyner is a career and technical education teacher at Elm City Middle, and he maintained his existing certification for career and technical education, early adolescence through young adulthood. Congratulations. And he brought a future teacher with him as well. Thank
Yes.
you. Always good to recruit young. Angela London is an English teacher at Fike High, and she maintained her existing certification for English language arts, early adolescence. I believe someone is standing in for Angie. Hassan, you've never looked better. But please tell Angie we say congratulations.
We'll still give a round of applause.
Miranda Walls is a multi-classroom leader at Barnes Elementary, and she maintained her existing certification for generalist/early childhood. Congratulations, Miranda. And Ms. Donna Winborn is a counselor at Hunt High, and she maintained her existing certification for school counseling, early childhood through young adulthood. Congratulations, Donna. Again, congratulations again to all these fabulous educators. Earning and maintaining this certification is a very rigorous process, and it really shows your commitment to education and lifelong learning, and perseverance probably is my guess as well, and family commitment most of the time as well. We also want to thank our beginning teacher coordinator, Amy Evans, for guiding our folks through the process. But again, we're proud of all of you. We're glad you're being recognized tonight, and now is when we get those also famous and important pictures. Yeah.
I want to say to you all, when I started working in 1998 with National Board Certified Teachers, we only had 5 in Wilson County. And look how our numbers
That's
have grown
huge.
since that time. So you all deserve a lot of credit for that. So it's near and dear to my heart.
All right, y'all look in here. 1, 2, 3.
I found somebody taller than me.
Yeah, finally got somebody. Good to see you, son. You better take care of her.
Congratulations.
Madam Chair, that's all we have.
All right. Oh, well, it's clear out.
She's the manager of the Elm City's bank after she left.
This house is babies.
No, that's totally different.
It is always so good to share the good news. Chairman's report. Mine is very brief, but I just want to remind you and thank board members for agreeing, as you noticed in your minutes, for those who have committed to participating in the trivia spelling bee that's coming up, sponsored by Wilson Education Partnership on March 14th at 6:30 PM at Hunt High School. That's always a fun evening, and we look forward to that time together. Also, as part of my report, I'm going to ask Representative Ken Fontenot to please come forward. You know, people come bearing gifts, especially large checks, the oversized checks. We know we'll get the smaller size check, but we're always happy to receive the dollars to help with our programming. So, whoa. See, that's how heavy that money is. Upside down, upside down.
Just want to say it's always a privilege and a pleasure working with y'all. I had, in this process in particular, I had a blast working with Dr. Williams as we met about a year ago to look forward to this day. And if there's anything about my job, it's the interaction with you that makes it worthwhile. It's always positive to be able to call you all, coordinate, and anytime I need an ear, you all are one ring away. Anytime I need to text someone, you all respond immediately. And it's that type of thing that makes this type of thing happen. So I just want to say thank you for being awesome teammates, and we're going to keep this train rolling.
All
So
right.
I got another meeting, Dr. Williams, and we hope to do some big things in just a few weeks. So we're going to keep it going.
We're always happy to receive those grant dollars, and even though that check is just on a little different vantage point, that's a $400,000 grant that the school system is receiving, and if I'm not mistaken, that is for safety.
Yes, ma'am.
Considerations in the school system, and I know that the administration has already worked out where those dollars will go to keep the students safe. So, do we need to come and take a picture with you, Representative?
I would love it.
All right, members of the board, come on.
Dr. Williams should take that with.
Dr. Williams, you're gonna get in this one with us, please. Appreciate it.
Your sons, Mr. Horton.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Ms. Barnes. My oldest, Tyler, he's about to be 13 in 2 days.
Oh, wow.
This little guy's 8.
Hey.
Yes, ma'am. This is Miss Barnes, this is Miss Boyette, Mr. Boykin, Dr. Fitch, Ms. Powell, and then Mr. Mercer, and Mr. Green, and that is Dr. Mills. And this is Dr. Williams.
And so I think we're gonna be in this center well.
We did all that walking. That's where I tried to go.
You guys bring it in there.
Mr. Green?
I'll just, I'll be tall back here.
Said, Mama, Ben's the information. Ben did this one. Ben did this one. I'm good.
So we can't put it.
I'm good.
Where these guys can- You got some good helpers there.
He's on track. There we go.
It's not even.
It's not even.
There we go. Here, 1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure. Absolutely. That is actually my sister, it's Kimberly, another sister Diana. And Diana is the educator that got me into education.
Hi, Diane. Well, we look forward to the smaller check that we actually can take to the.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am, thank you, Doctor.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
Yep.
All right. Next on our agenda is the superintendent's report. Dr. Mills.
Madam Chair, board members, audience members, just a few quick notes. Since our last board meeting, Ms. Lynch has reminded me that we've had some really great TV news coverage. And of course, we're always grateful for Olivia and the coverage we get in the Wilson Times. Shout out to her. On January 30th, our wash centers were featured on CBS 17. A reporter visited the Fike High Wash Center to find out more about the services offered and the partnerships that make those clinics possible. As you know, we're one of the few school systems that have such a successful school health centers in our schools. And on January 25th, WRAL reporter Brian Schrader was here for a Teacher of the Week segment. He surprised WECA English teacher Olympia Jenkins. Ms. Jenkins was nominated by Gideon, one of her ninth graders from last semester. She did a great job with the interview about her teaching career, and the segment is supposed to air this Wednesday at 8 on Fox 50 News, and again at noon on WRAL. So it'll also be posted online, so keep an eye out for her online. It's that time of year where we're sharing information about how to register for our Title I and NC Pre-K programs, which is ongoing, and about kindergarten registration, which is scheduled for March the 4th from 2 to 6 p.m. at our elementary schools. You can find more information about registration for pre-K and kindergarten on our district website and social media sites, but again, it's March the 4th from 2 to 6 at the elementary schools. And finally, we're also excited about our upcoming Educator Job Fair. If you're interested in teaching for Wilson County Schools, please attend the job fair on Saturday, March 23rd. Saturday, March 23rd, between 9 and noon at Darden Middle. We'll have representatives from all of our schools, and preliminary interviews will be held on site. All we're asking is to bring yourselves in a recent transcript, and we're looking forward to another great event with that. HR's been busy pulling that together, and we'd love to get some new educators to our district. So, Madam Chair, that was a quick update.
Thank you so much. Next on the agenda is the public input portion of our meeting. Each person is granted 3 minutes for his or her presentation. This portion of the meeting is for the board to hear matters of interest from the public. However, obscene or vulgar statements, personal attacks, and statements reasonably perceived to be disruptive or imminently threatening to the orderly operation of the meeting shall not be permitted. We have 4 persons who have signed up to address the board this evening. The first person is Dr. Charles Bayo regarding school policy questions.
Good evening, folks.
Good evening.
For this meeting, I wanted to read to the school board and the public at large an excerpt from one of the books that's at Fike High School Library. Our group, Moms for Liberty, has handed out an email to each board member excerpts from similar books that are presently in Wilson County School Libraries. We have had no significant feedback from the board members. This is disappointing and unfortunately not surprising, considering how long our efforts in pursuing this issue have been essentially dismissed. One of our hopes in addressing this issue in this public forum are twofold. One, to bring it to the board's attention again, and 2, to bring it to the community's attention, especially parents of school-aged children, which we are presently pursuing with a great deal of difficulty. I'm going to read something from the book Crank by Helen Hopkins. It is presently in Fike High School Library, and it portrays a rape scene involving 2 teenagers. It started with a kiss, Crank revved, pistons firing full bore, passion firecracker in tiny bursts from thigh to belly button. Oh, baby, I want you so bad. Bad to the bone, we laughed, but it wasn't all right, not so long. My shirt tore open. Wait, I waited for weeks. Put up or shut up. Kisses segued to bites, bruises, pain, rippled my body. Brandon, please stop. No, you promised. You damn little tease. Of course, my shorts, down went his zipper. I realized it was serious trouble. I'll scream. I'm going to leave it at that because it only gets more graphic than that. Just the issue that this is in Fike High School that minors can get a hold of. I would hope the board would do something about it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, Melissa Butts regarding school policy on bullying.
So my child is a second grader at Gardner's Elementary School. She has been a victim of bullying throughout this entire school year, and I was never notified, not even to a death threat that was made on January 29th. I filed a formal bullying complaint on the 31st and have not yet been notified of any results from an investigation that was to take place regarding the incident. I have removed my child from Gardner's due to the lack of safety measures taken with the incident and classmate. I consulted with an attorney on the issue and was told there should have been a safety plan in place and I should have been notified within 15 days of the filed complaint. From what I've been told by other classmates' parents, Gardner's has set up somewhat of a safety plan, but I wouldn't call it safe because this particular child continues to terrorize the students by shouting at them, throwing crayons and objects at them from the front of the class. She has pushed, hit, written ugly, threatening notes, asked other classmates to help her, killed my child, and pulled my child's hair throughout the school year. My child, as well as others, have been academically falling behind this year due to the constant disruption of class and bullying taking place. The students cannot fully concentrate on learning, which is unfair. I fear that an innocent child will get hurt if this student remains at school. Myself, as well as other parents that have children in the class, are requesting for this child to be removed from Gardner's and placed in a behavioral learning center or virtual program offered by the county. School should be a safe place for learning, not a place for constant bullying and retaliation. It seems as if a bully has more rights than a victim, and this must change for the better for the future of our children. It seems as if it's easier to move your well-behaved, respectful child from the school than remove a problematic child. And unfortunately, my child is the one being punished by having to be removed from her friends in a school that she absolutely loved and is literally 2 miles from my house.
Thank you. Next is Erwin Lynch regarding health fair.
Good evening. I was really excited when I saw the post on Facebook about the Worley Wellness Fair that I think you guys are sponsoring, or I'm not 100% certain of the involvement there, but I saw that Wilson County Schools was promoting it. I immediately thought of recent conversations that I've had with friends about how we can spread community awareness on safe gun storage. I think it ties in to wellness, health in so many aspects. Gun safety goes hand in hand with health issues, and I just thought if there's not already somebody at this wellness fair having information about safe gun storage, I would love to sort of see if there's a way that we could include that in information or programming for this event. The Wilson County Times, I don't think we can go a week without seeing a story about gun violence in our communities. And as a parent of a child who's in public schools, gun violence is a constant worry for me. I mean, national news, it's everywhere. And I think sharing information about safe gun storage could be a really impactful way to make sure that our community members who do have guns know how to take care of them and make sure that they do not get into hands of people who are not going to use them appropriately. So I look forward to getting some feedback or finding out if that's already on there or how we can get that information to parents and community members. Thank you.
Thank you. And the last person is David Batts regarding unacceptable behavior.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is David Batts, and I'm here tonight to discuss the unacceptable behavior of a child at Gardner's Elementary. Two of my children go to this fine school, and it is a great school. It has come to my attention that there have been several incidents with one child in the second grade classroom this year. This did not just start this year. It has been an ongoing problem for this child's first years at this fantastic school, and it is a great school. I'm sure if you have children that attend Wilson County schools, and as a matter of record, if you would, members, please raise your hands if you have any children attending Wilson County public schools right now. 3 of y'all. That's great. That's fantastic. You have an interest in it. I'm sure you're aware that bullying, assault, physical threats, and death threats, and solicitation of other children to help kill another child is not allowed in our schools. I understand by reading the North Carolina compilation of school discipline and laws and regulations, which I read this past weekend, that punishment for such offenses includes in-school suspension and for death threats that expulsion is required. Tonight, I'm asking the board to make a decision so that children who have been affected over this year can feel safe and that the parents feel comfortable with their children to return back to school and that the threat needs to be removed. There's an old saying, and some of you have heard it a different way, but I'll keep it clean. If you have to eat something distasteful, don't nibble on it. Basically, if you have something to do that isn't going to be pleasant, don't piddle around with it. Get it done quickly because it's going to taste bad either way. It's better to get it done and over than to just drag it out. Gardner's Elementary has historically been a great school. I know, I went there. Not just academically, but the teachers and the principal I would put up against any school in North Carolina and in the United States. When you have a troubled student, you don't throw them back with the good students who come to learn, and you don't make it where the good students don't feel safe and can't come back to school. Tonight, we're asking for swift action before any more incidents like this occur, and for the safety of all the children, including the child that's troubled, I'm asking for the threat to be removed in the best way possible. Parents want their children in a safe and structured and disciplined environment, so learning's fun, educational, and memorable for all the right reasons, not the bad ones. God bless you for the work that you are doing on the Board of Education, and may you be rewarded for all your efforts to keep our children safe in our schools.
Thank you very much. Members of the board, in regard to the persons who have addressed the board, you have the options of directing the chairman to respond to the concern on behalf of the board, to direct the administration to respond to the concern, to refer the matter to a board committee, to refer the matter to the administration, or to place the matter of concern on the agenda for a future meeting. What is your pleasure?
Madam Chair,
Mrs. Powell?
I recommend let's direct the administration to respond to the concerns.
I agree too.
All right.
Yes.
Dr. Mills, the administration is being asked to respond to the concerns that have been voiced by the members of the public.
Sure.
Thank you very much. Next on the agenda are our committee reports. We'll begin with the Administrative Services Committee, chaired by Mr. Mercer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Administrative Services Committee met this afternoon. We had two information items, two action items. And the first information item was a contract requiring board notification. This contract is with Anderson, Smith, and White, and is to conduct the audit and render reports in accordance with the generally accepted auditing standards, and it's not to exceed $49,000. Dr. Williams, you have anything else to say or clarification? Questions or comments?
Just as a reminder, the administration enters into contracts in amounts not exceeding $90,000, and so this contract would be within that scope and purview, which is why it is an information item.
Our second item is the naming of Fike High School Athletic Complex. With this, personally, it brings me quite a bit of pleasure and an honor to be involved with this. The persons that have worked much more diligently than I have, and others, are Gary Farmer, Stuart Walston, Charlie Bedgood, and Jim Boykin. Charlie is not here this evening, but the other three of those are. And there have been many other people that have been very supportive and encouraging in this effort because they wish to name the field the Jimmy Tillman Athletic Complex. In that regard, also present this evening is Jimmy's wife, Vicki Tillman, sister, Jean Whitshell, and close and dear friend, Bob Pope. I would like to read, and bear with me. This is not super lengthy, but it is more than just a sentence or two. What the priestess says and the rationale behind making such a recommendation. And as I read, Mr. Tillman was devoted to Wilson County schools, and throughout the years, he served as a respected teacher, coach, assistant principal, athletic director, and overall educational consultant. He learned each of his students' names. Mr. Tillman served Wilson County schools for 34 years and left a lasting legacy for all those who knew him. He began his career at Lucama High School as the health PE teacher and football coach. In 1978, he accepted a position serving in the same capacity at Bedingfield High School. He remained there until 1980, when he became the head football coach and athletic director at Southwest Edgecombe High School. In 1990, he returned to Wilson County Schools as the assistant principal at Fike High School. Then in 1994, until his retirement in 2005, he served as principal at Lucama Elementary, Darden Vic Middle, and lastly, Fike High School. In his retirement, he returned to Wilson County Schools as an educational consultant for principals and assistant principals. In 2008, Mr. Tillman moved into the role of district athletic director for all Wilson County schools and served in this role until his untimely passing. He was a member of the Hall of Fame at Fike and Southwest Edgecombe schools, as well as the North Carolina High School Athletic Association, and was listed on their all-time top 100 list of athletic administrators. Mr. Tillman was named Wilson County Schools Principal of the Year in 1999, and in 2005 named the North Carolina High School Athletic Association Principal of the Year. In 2012, he was named Athletic Director of the Year by the North Carolina Athletic Directors Association. Mr. Tillman was also the chairman of the North Carolina High School Athletic Nominating Committee 3 times and a member of the Realignment Committee for 3 terms. This is a part of what he accomplished and what he meant to everyone. And with that in mind, I'm recommending that we name the athletic complex at Fike High School in his name, the Jimmy Tillman Athletic Complex. Now, the procedure for this is it requires reading at 2 meetings. And while I would encourage discussion at this one because of the, I just would like for each of us that can to share some memories or feelings about Jimmy Tillman and what he has meant to this school and the students.
Madam Vice Chair, or Madam Chair.
Mr. Breen?
When I was coming up through school, Mr. Tillman was the principal across town. And for no good reason at all, I did not like Mr. Tillman, other than he was the principal over at Fike and I was over at home. Coming to get to know him professionally and hearing how well everybody I've ever met has talked about him and seeing the indelible mark he has made on the lives of his students and the impact he has made on this county, I would join you in that recommendation.
Ms. Powell?
Chair, yes. What I did, because both of my children attended Fike High School. Mr. Tillman was the principal there. So I actually texted them and asked them, I said, what kind of memories do you have of Mr. Tillman? And they said, which is pretty much the same thing that I've stated, that he's a man of integrity, that he was friendly and he cared about all of his students, that he took the time out to speak to all the students as they came in by name, each individual student by their name, which is amazing to me how he did it. I have no idea. And most of the kids that were there appreciated him, they respected him, and he also made a difference in the lives of both of my students, and my children, excuse me, and they are 35 and 34 years old now. So you can see over the years how that's impacted their lives. So I'm very happy that we are doing this in honor of him because he deserves it.
Thank you, Ms. Powell. Yes, Ms. Barnes.
When I first met Mr. Tillman, the first thing he said was, I knew your dad. And my dad was Clarence Hoskin. He taught with him at Lucamba for a short while and then ventured into Beddingfield. And every time he would see me, he would say, I knew your dad. And he was just a wonderful, wonderful man. I don't think I ever saw him with a frown on his face. He was always just full of smiles and full of life. And I think he would be well deserving of this honor.
I knew Mr. Tillman both professionally and personally. Professionally, he was my principal over at Lucama when I was a teacher, and one of the main people that encouraged me to go into administration. He always said I was his AP before he had an AP, but I appreciated all that. I knew Vicki for many years. We were teachers together over there and enjoyed that. And Jimmy was a huge Duke fan, if you knew him, and my father-in-law was a huge Duke fan. And they traveled to and from many places to see Duke University play football, basketball, anything they played.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
So I did not know Mr. Tillman, but my wife did go to fight while he was the principal there, and she adored him. She loved him to death, and I would be very much so in favor of supporting this movement.
I got to know Mr. Tillman when I came back and started my service on the school board here. And there was always a joke that he would have, you know. It would come out of nowhere, but he was always on target. He was always very animated. He was very lively, and I found him to be a very interesting person to work with and to get to know through the years. I think that the request coming from Vice Chair Mercer to afford this naming of the Fike High School Athletic Complex is very appropriate. We have had the opportunity through the years to name various portions of our campuses for individuals who have been influential in impacting the lives of our students. Certainly, Mr. Tillman was one of those individuals. And in naming the Fike High School Athletic Complex, it does not take away from any portions that have already been named for individuals, such as the Harvey Reed Gymnasium. We have the Buddy Bedgood Stadium. And for any other requests that come in the future that merit, and it's an honor to make sure that we continue to honor the legacy of those that impact our students, our families, our community as a whole. And so with this being done at today's meeting, knowing that it will come before us for an actual vote at our next board meeting, I'm sure that there will be no objection to this actually occurring, and we look forward to the day that happens and when the actual ceremony occurs. We thank the Tillman family for generously sharing Jimmy through all these years with all of these students that did get to know him, and for the families that were impacted. We thank you for coming and sharing this time with us this evening, It is our honor and our privilege to take this action in its beginning first step tonight. Thank you so very much. Mr. Vice Chair, I'll
Yes,
turn it back to you.
yes, ma'am. I have a few comments. One, it's not been mentioned, but it's an important one. Jimmy always said, students first. Students first. I have to share, and I can, believe it or not, I can do it briefly. But I do want to take the time to do it. As principals, we always, when I was principal and other people were principals, we were always hunting for that best teacher we could find. Anytime we had an opening, we wanted to snag the best teacher out there. Now, during my career and knowledge of other principals, Jimmy and I had a relationship when it came to selecting teachers and interviewing teachers that I had with no other. When he was principal at Lucama, I was principal at Lee Woodard. In the summers, we usually both would have openings. We interviewed together, not by direction from the central office, but because he and I had that much faith and trust in one another. We did not have a deal where you take this one, I'll take the next one. When we found a good candidate, we would say, where will that person best serve the students? Looking at both schools as a whole. I knew of no other principal that I know of no one that did it with me. Someone else might have done it, but he's the only one that I know. And he thought of my students just as strongly as he thought of his, because they were young people and they were students. And I admired him for that, and I tried to show him the same respect and the same consideration in return. That's just one example that shows he not only said students first, he meant students first. Anybody that knew him loved him, and I did, and shame I didn't tell him, and that'll be my cross to bear, but I think he knew it. Now, any other comments, questions? With all the comments that's been said, I have to kind of repeat something that Dr. Fitch said, that there is support. I have not had anyone show any lack of support in this matter. And I look forward to next month's meeting when we can have a vote and make it official. If there's no other comments, I will now go to the action items. If anybody that does not wish to endure the remainder of the meeting, I'll pause for just about 15 or 20 or 30 seconds so you can make your exit without interruption. Okay, for our first action item, it's the school age care enrichment program tuition rates. And this is, I don't think this has been updated since in what, 8 years, 7, 8 years or more. And Dr. Williams, will you share this, please?
Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the board, we are bringing tonight the tuition rates for our before care, after school care, and summer program. The first program that we'll address will be the after school care program. In the after school care program, we do have some information in regards to times and locations. Current weekly tuition is $35 for one child, the $65 for 2 children, and $95 for 3 children. The tuition has not been increased since the 2015-2016 school year. We would propose weekly tuition for $45 for one child, $85 for two children, and $125 for three children. Secondly is the summer program. The summer program is open for all students who are enrolled in the after-school care program. Summer program begins the Monday after school dismisses and will go through the Wednesday before school starts for the next year. The summer program is closed for the July the 4th holiday. The tuition has not been increased since June of 2015. The current weekly tuition for the summer program is $85 for one child, $165 for two children, and $245 for three children. The proposed weekly tuition for the summer program is $100 for one child, $195 for two children, and $290 for three children. And finally, is the before-school program. The before-school program, the current weekly tuition is $8 per child. This tuition has not been increased since the 2014-2015 school year, and the proposed weekly tuition is $10 per week. The request for consideration of the tuition is, one, the time by which has elapsed from the last time there was a discussion of increase for the tuition, and to cover additional increases in cost over those years to bring it current to today.
Any questions, comments?
Just a couple, even though these tuition, especially after school care, even though these tuition, and these are tuition increases, we are still far more affordable than any other after-school care program that I can find. And that we previously approved increases for site managers and other folks that are working at before and after school care. And the majority of the tuition increases will go towards funding, continuing to fund those positions. Because, and I'm gonna mess up the SACEP, as I understand it, is self-funded.
That's correct.
That's what I understand also. Any other comments, questions? Hearing none, on behalf of the Administrative Services Committee, I move the full board approve the school age care enrichment program's tuition rates as presented by administration.
Is there a
Second.
It has been moved by Mr. Mercer, seconded by Mr. Breen, that the board approve the school-age care enrichment program tuition rates as presented by the administration. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by the sign of aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously. Mr. Mercer?
Thank you. Our second action item is, it's being recommended, it's recommended that we dispose of surplus property. You have a sheet before you that's media trailer, maintenance trucks, maintenance vans, some cleaning equipment, grounds equipment, scrap metal, driver's ed cars, out of service bus garage equipment. And they need approval to dispose of that in some form of sale. Don't know that it'll be an auction or sealed bids or whatever, but they need to dispose of these things. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
on behalf of Administrative Services Committee, I move that we approve for the disposal of the surplus property as listed.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Mercer, seconded by Mr. Breen, that the board approve the disposal of surplus property as presented by the administration. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by the sign of aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously.
Madam Chair, that completes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Mercer. Next on the agenda is the Instructional Services Committee. There were 8 informational items and 2 action items that were discussed at the meeting this afternoon. The revised policies are revised policy 4040/7030, staff-student relations, revised policy 4110, immunization and health requirements for school admission, revised policy 6220, operation of school nutrition services, revised policy 7100, recruitment and selection of personnel, revised policy 7130, licensure, revised policy 7510, leave, revised policy 7520, family and medical leave, and revised policy 7730, employee conflict of interest. Each of these is a first read. Discussion was held, very minor typographical or grammatical changes were sought by committee members. All 8 of these policies will come back to the full board for consideration as, for approval on the second reading at the next board meeting. Are there any questions? Hearing none, we're going to move to the action items, and Mr. Mercer, I will turn the meeting over to you at this point.
Yes,
Because
ma'am.
I'm going to make a couple of motions. The first was a proposed 2024-2025 restart calendar for Barnes and Hearn. If you recall, those calendars came to us at the last board meeting. Mrs. Boyette had a couple of questions that were posed in regard to work days at report card time and addition of work days for the schools, since they have flexibility and variability for them. In the revision of the restart calendars for those 2 schools, if you take a look at the calendar, it now shows October 18th being an optional workday. It shows November the 5th, as well as February the 14th being non-instructional days. So they have given the opportunity for those teachers to also be able to work on end of grade, and report cards, which was part of the consideration and question raised by Mrs. Boyette, if I'm not mistaken. And as to her question as to adding an additional day, it was found after consultation with Department of Public Instruction that that would be outside of the contract that the teachers have, and so there are no additional work days added to their calendar. Are there any questions, comments? Hearing none. Mr. Vice Chair, on behalf of the Instructional Services Committee, the committee recommends, and I move that that the proposed 2024-2025 restart calendar for Barnes and Hearn Elementary Schools as proposed by the administration be approved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded that the full board approve the Wilson County Schools restart calendar for Barnes and Hearn for the 2024-2025 school year as recommended by administration. Any further comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. It carries unanimously. Madam Chair.
The second action item was in regard to student fees for 2024-2025. If you refer to the chart that has been provided by the administration, the fees that are included are parking fees for the high schools, Bedingfield, Fike, and Hunt, at $100 for the year. Senior fees for each of our schools, Bedingfield, Fike, Hunt, Watt, and Wecker, at $60 for the year. A technology fee at $30 a year, where students that have a letter of direct services from Wilson County Schools Child Nutrition or an accepted free reduced lunch application may have their fee waived. That technology fee throughout the system is $30 a year, but it can be waived if the families, the students and their families provide the necessary documentation as just indicated, leaving only the yearbook fees at the various schools, and that vary in accordance with the amount set by those schools. It is the recommendation from the Instructional Services Committee, and therefore I move that the Wilson County Schools fees for the 2024-2025 year be approved as presented by the administration.
A second.
It's been moved and properly seconded that the Wilson County fees for the 2024-2025 school year be approved as recommended. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor with aye? Aye. Opposed, like sign. It carries unanimously. Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Barnes.
Madam Chair, I move that the Wilson County Board of Education go into closed session to consider confidential personnel matters as provided in North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A and 1 and 6, and 115C 319 through 321 to consider confidential student matters as provided in North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A1 and North Carolina General Statutes 115C-402 and the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act 20 U.S.C. 1232G, and to consult with the Board of Education attorney and preserve the attorney-client privilege as provided in North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A3.
Is there a second? Second. It has been moved by Mrs. Barnes, seconded by Mrs. Boyette, that the Wilson County Board of Education go into closed session to consider confidential personnel matters as provided in North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A1 and 6 and 115C-319 through 321 to consider confidential student matters as provided in North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A1 and North Carolina General Statutes 115C-402 and the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act 20 United States Code 1232G, and to consult with the Board of Education attorney and preserve the attorney-client privilege as provided in North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A3. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by the sign of aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously. We are adjourned to closed session.